This museum has been in existence since 1939. We've been in this location since 1957. So our museum tells the story of our area, including Governor Hoard and his influence on dairy. W.D. Hoard was born in upstate New York in 1836 and moved to Wisconsin just prior to the Civil War. He fought in the Civil War, really struggled to try and find his place, what he was going to do with himself.
Lake Mills didn't have a newspaper, so he launched a newspaper called the Jefferson County Union. Now, he didn't come from money or anything of that sort. He was a farmhand when he moved out here.
And found that even though he had absolutely no experience with running a newspaper, had never set type, had never edited, had never written anything like that, he was actually really good at it. In the 1880s, he started an insert in his paper called Hoard's Dairyman, where he focused on the science of dairy.
What's special about Wisconsin is that it's glaciated soil. So the whole theory behind this company was to the founder, W.D. Hoard, was to convince people that it would be better for them to change the agriculture they were using and use something like dairying where they have manure that can work into the soil.
He was talking to farmers and just saying, hey, rather than having 2 cows, what if you have 15? And through that, completely changed the fate of the state.
He's put together a group called the Wisconsin Dairymen's Association with some like-minded people to promote the change of agriculture into the dairy state as it became America's dairyland.
And then in 1889, he was elected to be governor of Wisconsin. He wasn't really searching for political office, it just kind of fell into his lap.
He was elected governor, he was drafted to run and he ran as the cow candidate. He wasn't much of a politician, but he easily won the first round, and they had cowbells that they shook all over the state.
And you think for Hoard, he didn't go to college. He had a few years of formal education, but from our perspective today, he would not have been very well educated. But he wanted others to have access to something that he didn't when he was a child, that he had to learn. So he's trying to help people learn from what he has learned during his life and to be better. And again, that is a great legacy.
Jefferson County is sort of the epicenter of dairying. Between 20 and 30% of the economy in the state of Wisconsin is still dependent on the dairy industry or is part of the dairy industry. So it was a real big economic boost.
There's something about Jefferson County and our soil that helps farms and farming become a part of who we are. That has become part of our identity as a state. It's on our license plates, right? We're the dairy state. Personally, I think that's a very cool thing that we have this as our identity, and that's thanks to people like Governor Hoard. It's incredible to think about how sometimes the smallest thing that you propose might have the largest change.
You know, if you enjoy what you're doing, you can have a great life. If you look back at W.D. Hoard or his son or his grandson or my father, they thundered. They were crusaders for the industry. What one person could do without much education and to change an entire economy in a state, it led to a lot of other things, and it will continue to lead to a lot of other things. I mean, part of the luster of UW-Madison is, their egg college.
I think when you preserve history, you have a better idea of where you are today. Jefferson County, while we look backwards, we also look forwards too. There's incredible innovations in agriculture that can help all of us. We can learn from the past and use that to move us forward too. And for people like Hoard, who had a huge emphasis on agriculture and education together, taking that and using that again to improve the lives of all of us. And Jefferson County, while we have this agriculture identity, we are more to, we have so much in our county to offer. It's just a beautiful place to live.
All right, thanks again. So this video actually premiered tonight at 6 o'clock on Discover Wisconsin. So we did post it on our Jefferson County, Wisconsin Facebook page. If you guys liked it, please share it and spread the word about it. Go to our Jefferson County, Wisconsin page and click share on that. Thanks again, Brian, for being a part of this. And is there anything you'd like to say?
No, actually, thank you all for getting this going. I mean, I would have liked it to be more in depth, as everybody would, but I appeared in the only, about the 3 hours they shot me, the only places I didn't look old. But I'm on the was on the Thrive Board. I resigned. I'm term limited off, which is something that is fun with the local industries and the various communities. And, we're never going to go back to what we were, and we're going to move on. But we got to remember where we started. And frankly, thanks to Ben, who's not going to be here much longer, obviously, and Tommy Thompson, we have the Kiekelman thing, and all of that sort of surrounds by the attitude in this room and the attitude of the county. We have an incredibly low unemployment rate, have for a long time, and we'll continue with that. And it's to the people in this room and a bunch of other people who Emerson once said, it doesn't matter what humans can accomplish if it doesn't matter who gets the credit. But I'd like to say everybody in this room gets the credit where this county is going. And it's not going to be on your tombstone. So, thank you all.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian.
As a reminder, we have one more video coming out December 3rd. At our December 10th board meeting, we'll do a similar thing and screen it. It is on the Project One line at Trek Bicycles. I've gotten a sneak peek, and it's going to be another great episode as well. So thank you all very much.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes till we can call to order here.
I thought it was very.
No, I think.
Roll call by the county clerk. Oh, shoot.
We have 26 present and 4 absent.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Since it's kind of Veterans Day, I'll have a veteran lead us. Mr. Herbst, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just take a moment. Please be seated. For compliance with the open meetings law, Mr. Waymeyer?
We are, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Just some minor changes here. Yvonne Diesterhafe cannot be here tonight, so we're postponing hers for a month. She is picking her mother up from her doctor's appointment, and she also wants to include a tour next time of the Veteran Service Office, because they'll be moved back in by next month. And she said there will be snacks too. Probably old sea rations, but whatever. And the other thing on the agenda that we'd like to change is moving numbers 16th, 17th, and 18th up before the closed session, before number 14, so we can do that, and then we can go into closed session, and however long that takes, we won't have to wait for the other things to be completed. If that's all right with you. So move for an amended agenda. Mr. Backlund, do I have a second? Mr. Jaco? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of October 8th, 2024 and October 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Mr. Winnicky.
Yes, I'd move approval of the October 8th, 2024 and October 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes as submitted.
Second for Mr. Morris. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Communications, Audrey.
We have the notice of public hearing for planning and zoning, which is November 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. And then you should also have your treasurer's monthly report. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Public comment.
Yes, I have a few questions.
Concerning what?
The financial,
What a point of the agenda?
the financial, that's in the end. Approval.
At the end? I don't know what you're speaking of here. The finance committee?
Yeah.
Well, then why don't we save, it's not public comment, then let's save it for that agenda item.
Well, it's kind of a public comment or question.
Well, you can ask that question when we get to that point.
Okay.
Yeah. Special order of business, Mr. Waymeyer.
So tonight, on October 31st, one of our previous county board members who was very active with not only the county, but his local community, Fort Atkinson, did pass away. And so tonight, on behalf of the board, I'd like to read it in, to the record, a resolution number 2024. Resolution number? 58, in memoriam of Richard Dick Schultz. Whereas Richard Dick Schultz of Fort Atkinson was born on September 12th, 1948, and died on October 31st, 2024, at the age of 76. And whereas Dick served the citizens of a Supervisory District 28, seated on April 2010 and serving until April 2022. Whereas as county board supervisor, Dick served on the Board of Health, Highway Committee, Historic Sites Preservation Council, Human Resources Committee, Home Consortium Board, Infrastructure Committee, Law Enforcement Emergency Management Committee, Solid Waste and Air Quality Committee, and UW Extension Education Committee. And whereas it is fitting for Dick Schultz to be recognized by the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors for his public service, dedication, and thoughtfulness, which will be missed by many. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors, meeting this 12th day of November 2024, does hereby extend its sincere sympathy to the family of Dick Schultz, along with this recognition of his service and dedication to the citizens of Jefferson County. I respectfully request approval of said resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Paulson, second by Mr. Brogler. I served with Dick a long time on this board. Many of you did. And one thing I'd say about Dick is he cared all the time. And we may have had arguments with Dick, but he cared about doing the best for the citizens all over. So he will be missed. Thank you. All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Strategic Plan Quarterly Update. Mr. Lucky.
Hello, everyone. So included in our strategic plan is the decision that we should celebrate our wins and publicize the good news about our county. So we sent out a number of really cool press releases recently about some of the stuff our departments are doing. But one thing to add to what will certainly be an ongoing recognition and admiration of our county administrator. Yesterday, Veterans Day, the Biz Times media put out a list of notable veterans executives in the 9 southeastern Wisconsin counties they cover. And of the 16 people they recognized, we had 3 of them in Jefferson County, one of which was Ben Waymeyer. So congratulations, Ben, on that. And also congratulations to Pete Barris and Jeff Eastman from Esalen Bio. They were recognized as well. So to have 16 people recognized across 9 counties, we had 3 of them. I thought that was a really great honor. So in the strategic plan itself, so as you remember, we have 4 main priority areas. They are diverse housing opportunities, highly regarded quality of life, intentional economic growth, and transformative government. You'll see those on every resolution that this board takes up, at least an attempt to tie them to the strategic plan, and if there is a reference, where in each objective that is, along with their icons. 3 of those 4 teams have met since we last talked. There's an additional meeting set up in December for one of the teams, and we've been working through this new dashboard that I showed off last time. As we're still in kind of user testing, there are some changes we're making to it, but I have a meeting set up on Thursday to go through that with Oral, who developed it. In terms of objectives we've actually completed, I'd like to tell you that we got in diverse housing opportunities. We have worked to identify model policies to share with municipalities for housing development. In highly regarded quality of life, we have found grant opportunities for translation as we need additional translation services here, and also ADA accessibility. That's been high on our list. In April of 2026, all websites will have to be ADA compliant, and so all public websites. So we will have to be working through that. And we're identifying some grant opportunities to make sure that we are being financially responsible. You as a county board debated a policy or no policy regarding the proceeds of the sale of county-owned farmland and whether those should be dedicated somewhere or taken on a case-by-case basis. That was in our strategic plan. You also passed a resolution in support of seeking more funding for the PACE program from the state of Wisconsin. So that was also included in the strategic plan. So congratulations and thank you. Intentional economic growth. We have inventoried workforce training programs available. We've identified grant funding to support training opportunities. We've published information on our website regarding incentives available for hiring different classes of employees, such as veterans and adults with disabilities. And we have cataloged and published economic development data request forms for like site selector entities and things like that. So those are the ones that have been checked off and accomplished. There are a number of ones that are still in the works, and as we meet with these, we kind of reevaluate timelines, resources that might be needed, and whether they fit still with the plan or if there's any changes we need to make. So we are still moving along. November 23rd of this year will be 1 year since adoption, so it's almost a year old, and so far I'm happy with where it's been, and this has been a plan that we've continued to use. It's not something that has been kind of shuttled off. And also, I'm very glad that we have so much participation from various departments. A number of department heads sitting in the back there are very active members of each team. And this is not something that's only being run by administration. This is the input is being shared, and the work is also being shared. I'm very, very grateful for that. So thank you all.
Any questions for Michael? Seeing none, we'll move on to annual, thank you, Michael. We'll move on to annual reports. Fair Park, Becky Roberts.
I will say that it seems appropriate after a video about cows that I'm on the annual report agenda for today. I would never say that cows are our favorite, but they are. Hello. Most of you have had an opportunity to interface with me. My name is Becky Roberts. I'm still new. I've been here now a total of 7 months, not that I'm counting. So it is my first presentation to you. I'm not going to lie, I am incredibly nervous, so I am going to refer to my notes quite a bit today. But let's just proceed. You will notice that today a lot of the information is fair heavy. There's reason for that. That's been the principal function of my job once it first was brought to me in April. So, but here we go. Let's talk about some fun stuff. So our 2024 accomplishments, it's really just a fancy way of saying this is what we got done. But let it be known that the team doesn't see it as something that's crossed off their list, but something that they can say they did with a lot of great pride. Our first item on this is fair survival. We were kind of in that mode at the time. My first 90 days, my 90th day was the day after the fair. So with a team that was fresh and green, coming into whatever state we walked into at the time, we put our heads down and survived the challenges of weather, the challenges of operational systems that had to be learned. And for the most part, I'm very happy to say that the fair was very successful. I think you might say that same thing when I get to tell you that it was essentially break even, slightly in the black maybe. So we're very happy about that, and it gave us really just a great baseline to grow from. So I might say it was kind of a master class in fair discovery. Our second point is that we built confidence and strength. It certainly has been one of our intentions to demonstrate that the Fair Park is a viable business, a partner, and a friend to a very diverse and wide-ranging series of stakeholders. With questions from recent years that have maybe invited some doubt along the way, we have been able to start to rebuild our relationships with some of those stakeholders that might have been on the bubble for the last couple of years. This is an item that we are not by no means done with or completed with. It does require some ongoing constant maintenance, but we're really excited about the momentum that we've seen there so far. From an infrastructure standpoint, there are several items of deferred maintenance that have been called out at Fair Park, with a lot of changes to leadership over the course of the last 10 years. Right now, we're stepping back and taking a look at the Fair Park with a very thoughtful plan as we're starting to build what will protect the asset that you have in that Fair Park and what will let that Fair Park grow and age with a little bit of grace. So really thinking ahead so that we're not always reacting, but can be a little bit more proactive to what might need it out there is our goal. It's not a short list of deferred maintenance, and I'm just being very transparent with you about that. It's roofs, it's doors, it's entrance gates. There's some significant opportunities out there for us to make it a better experience. But we're looking at safety and security elements first, and that will be on our agenda for 2025 and 26. And then the fourth item is that we filled the staff with very passionate people. That was a process. Happy to report that we are now fully staffed. The best part about this is, though, that we've been able to staff it with professionals who are truly subject matter experts at what they're delivering at the Fair Park now. So we're really happy about that. The new faces has brought a fresh energy, a team that is very united in its effort, and dare I say, we are service forward. And understanding that I come from the hospitality space, so I have to go there. Understanding that everybody is a customer, and taking that as our first touch point with everybody, instead of just saying we perform events or we do this. So that's been a cultural shift that we're really proud that we've been able to start. With that said, there are many stories that a fair can give us. We had some great photography this year, so I wanted to share some of that with you. As I went through some of the pictures, it's amazing to me how serious the kids are. It was hard to find a picture of kids smiling with their animals. They're like so intense. So I wanted to share some of those today, understanding that the fair is something different for everyone. And everybody walks away from the fair with a different story. The picture that just went up is a Superintendent Joy Bratley, and she's our poultry superintendent. She literally sent me a note saying she has never been on a carnival ride. She has been to at least 30 fairs, Jefferson County fairs, plus other fairs. So I made a point for the carnival to give her a ride on the Ferris wheel. That was her proof that she was finally on a carnival ride. But everybody has their story, whether it be an animal, whether it be an element of entertainment, whether it just be fun in the wash basin when the kids have their water fight at the end of fair. There's so many stories to share, and I'm very proud of you for being able to celebrate that. So back to that fancy word of accomplishments. Quarter 2 and quarter 3, this probably provides you a little bit more detail on what you need, and I promise I won't read it to you. You've got a copy of that. But I think it is important to share that much of the efforts that we have accomplished so far were done with a lot of thought and intent as to what's going to better the Fair Park going forward. We kind of look at this as Fair Park 2.0, and where are we headed now? It's funny because I've always used the saying that the rearview mirror is really important, right? We got to look where we came from. But when you compare the size of that to the windshield, it tells you how much attention to pay going forward. And that's really been one of the mantras that we use at Fair Park, because it's important to acknowledge that history. We've got a vast future in front of us, so we're very excited about that. We are also very busy. We have 3 new management softwares being deployed literally at this moment. So a whole new fair management, camping management, and then events management software is being put into place to help us with efficiencies, minimizing some of the labor that we were seeing, and also being able to handle what's coming into us, which is extreme. That's a good problem to have. We are also dividing the Fair Park website. We met on that today. It's very exciting. I can't wait to show it to you. So we are separating Fair and Fair Park. So they each have their own unique identity. One is a very lively, energetic spirit, right? The other one is very professional, and you could do this here and imagine this here. So we are separating those two. They will each have 2 different brands that go with it. They'll be in concert with each other, but 2 separate messages to share. Our Fair Premium book goes live on Monday, one of the earliest premium book deliveries that we've had in a long time. So we're very proud of that. It's significant rewrites, some new departments being added, and expanding some of our open classes, which is really exciting too. Sponsorship is an area that will be ongoing. Those opportunities are happening. We have several engagement opportunities that are happening with our sponsors from past, present, and some who said they took notice last year and want to be a part of our event. So we're excited about that, but it will have a new face. And we've relaunched the Fairs of the Fairs. So it's not like we're not doing anything out there. Alongside dozen other elements, we're collecting animal DNA today. That's very exciting. And today I had a call from somebody who wants to buy out the entire park for an event. So we're constantly moving our wheels into lots of different categories. Let's see. So what should we look forward to? Am I hitting something wrong? Oh, there we go. Thank you. So 20, did I miss something?
No, very good.
Yep. We should be there. We missed something there, but that's okay. So what does this need to look forward to? The year of more is what we are coining 2025 out at Fair Park, looking at an experiential sponsorship program, which is giving our sponsors more than just banner location or a name to something, but creating experiences for our fair. So it's a win-win-win, as our fairgoers also have a new experience. We are looking at strengthening our 4-H and youth organization relationships. That's a strength of ours that we have here that probably hasn't been fully maximized yet. So our opportunity is to do that as we do new outreach for our open and senior divisions of participants in the fair. Entertainment. Just pausing for the cause. If there's one question about the fair that I literally hear every day, it's what's going to be on the stage. We have a newly designed entertainment package that won't break the bank, that will offer our fairgoers much more value, and won't require extra ticket prices or fees to be assessed to them. You're on the edge of your seats now, aren't you? It is a work in progress, but our team and committees are genuinely excited about a new way of looking at Fair Park and how to reasonably and responsibly provide a greater fair experience. So if we like what we see in 2025, we're going to be working on those elements to expand them going forward. I can't tell you everything yet because it hasn't cleared, but my spoiler alert for you is there may be a day or two that features rodeo elements, and you should probably be drinking from your red Solo cup at some point over the weekend. Moving on, Fair Park. We are taking a higher elevation of the asset of the Fair Park, as I mentioned earlier. This is really my primary mission for 2025. The goals that are outlined in the plan that you have in front of you really show the elements of what is required to build that solid business plan going forward, and that's what we're stripping down to build. This will be the completed website, which will better serve our clients, even from the phrasing and the language that is on our fee schedule. We've changed that to better match what our clients are looking for and how they want to purchase things, so we're speaking their same language. Understanding the assets of Fair Park, how to take better care of them, and then words that haven't been used all too much about Fair Park yet, but we say it every day now, marketing and sales. That's a part of revenue opportunity that we have at Fair Park that we're really starting to seize, hence that call I took earlier today about buying out the Fair Park. I have heard from many of you about the need to view and operate Fair Park as a business, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So thank you for that validation of movement. It will take some time. Obviously, 7 months for me hasn't been a lot, but we have a really great path, and we're steadily heading forward. So how do we position ourselves? So the slide that you see in front of you right now is what we call our 4 pillars. Like any good chair, it's got 4 really solid legs to lean on, right? That keeps you balanced and keeps you centered, hence the 4-pillar kind of analogy. Being a good neighbor, being responsible to our neighborhood, both on North Jackson, but attentive and involved in the communities that we serve as well. So this is done by participating in all of the chambers of commerce, in all the Main Street programs, in any other destination marketing organization that might exist within the county, because we too are a part of tourism. Serving as an educator, we have a beautiful blank canvas of a facility that can teach so much to so many. So again, that partnership with UW Extension and the 4-H programs is strong here. But what's important is that we just don't see our space as a venue, but it's a learning opportunity too. Think of growing sunflower fields or having high school kids build a greenhouse and a master gardening workshop happening at the same time. There's lots of different things that can come from the asset that you have that can continue that educational vein. Being respectful of our earth matters really when we lean on industries that are dependent on soil, are impacted by our climate, and need to prevail through the test of time. We are not the Fair Park that we were 170 years ago, thank goodness. But we have a responsibility to make sure we're here for the next 170. So making sure that we're respectful of that is so important, respectful of our land, what comes from it, what goes on it. Lastly, we all love a good party at Fair Park. It is absolutely the entity that is excited to be celebrating with our local industries of our county, whether they be incorporated into the fair, represented on our buildings, or heck, somebody just wants to have a great birthday. Being cheerleaders of our local businesses and our local citizens is a really important part of what we do. We are standing tall as that celebration zone, yet at the same time, we know it really does take a village to celebrate those things. We just want to be one of those with the pom-poms. Those are the 4 pillars of our team, and even though this is a very concentrated focus, it does help us keep our staff on mission and on track for how to grow Fair Park and how to be united in that process. Lastly, I'll just say that, thank you. It's been a really long 7 months. And I was certainly a stranger to everyone. I respect the chance that you gave me to step into this role, and I know that we can continue to do great things together. So without being able to tell you who the entertainment is going to be, do you have any questions?
Questions for Becky? Seeing none, you must be doing a heck of a good job.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much, Becky. That takes us to item B, which is Veteran Service, which will be postponed till next month. Item C, Planning and Development, Matt Zangle.
Great job, Becky. Your creativity skills are far beyond my skills, so good job. I'll keep it short and sweet tonight, just hit a couple of the points in the annual report. But on that note, if you do have any questions, feel free to stop by. As always, our doors are open. Stop by the GIS area. They'd love to show you some of the cool mapping stuff that they've been working on recently. On the zoning side of things, revenues continue to stay pretty consistent and constant over the years. So far, we met the 2024 budgeted goals. The report, I will note, shows $190,000 for revenues from the zoning department. However, the most recent and up-to-date is around $230,000. So we're about where we should be. We'll be exceeding probably where we were last year, which is a little surprising when you look at the economy. Zoning permits on that still stay consistent as well with no major changes. I will note again this year that there is a continued increase in cell towers, primarily due to the competition and ongoing lease problems between the owners and the co-locators, which drives them to build a new tower rather than co-locating on existing towers, which I think we'll see some conflict in the coming years. Septic systems and permitting and inspections continue to stay steady and the same. And then this year, again, in the zoning world, we're continuing to work on our implementation of GIS and GPS technology into our workflows. Specifically, the last couple of years, we've been working on soil tests and collecting that data electronically when staff are out in the field. And then the same with septic system inspections, mapping out the septic when they're out inspecting it, and then displaying that on our GIS system so landowners and residents and staff can see where that was at a more accurate rather than a pencil paper style. The newest implementation this year was a new zoning permit module, so a landowner resident can apply for the zoning permit all online. We did have that technology before, however, it was pretty outdated and really didn't benefit the county or the staff throughout the process as well. But the new system allows us to completely follow the process all electronically, saving a lot of old hand entry, data entry time on the back end once a permit's been issued. So a permit will be able to be submitted and then issued all electronically. Again, and then that once it's issued, that data automatically flies into the land record system, is automatically populated, and we don't have to spend the time hand entering, which has been a great time saver throughout the summer months here. Recently, we did a new receipting program through MIS, so shout out to MIS with their collaboration and help on the land record system and all the technology that we use. Also within the zoning department is the Clean Sweep program. Again, we average about 500 residents per year at the Clean Sweep for about 4 days-ish, depending upon the year. And then again, we average over 500 residents at the three or four appliance and electronic recycling events throughout the year. So our participation continues to increase, and along with that, expenses continue to increase with the disposal of those items. On the land info and GIS side, the biggest things there have been some new state law changes that affect the department. The first one being the elimination of personal property tax, and the second one being the Daniels Law, or the redaction of information from online databases. Up front, they seem pretty simple and generic, so to speak, law changes, but ultimately when you get into the fine details, there's a lot of day-to-day activities that are affected by those two simple bills and law changes. So that's brought some additional workload and processes and determinations throughout the department. Last year, or 2024, I should say, this current year, one of the big items in the GIS was the addition of a new GIS technician. And that has been great. It's been a collaboration between the county and then local municipalities on their GIS services, so specifically the city of Fort Atkinson and the city of Watertown, excuse me. Both those cities chip in as part of that position and then get those services in return. So the city of Watertown was really unique. We entered into that position and into that role not knowing what was going to come, and ultimately we pretty much had to rebuild all of the city's GIS web mapping, which was a lengthy process but achievable. And then the city of Fort's been a little bit simpler, a little bit smoother. That's really just been assisting their current priorities, helping out, being the boots on the ground, having that person in their office weekly to assist them. And both have been great. It's been a great collaboration, and moving forward, we hope to add some more municipalities. On that note, that's all I have for you. Thank you for your support. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop by or reach out.
Any questions for Matt at this point?
Yes, I have a question.
Mr. Gross.
Matt, for let's say taxing purposes to different residences, why is there such a difference in the dollar value on different residences for the land? Is that just left up to the assessor?
The assessor.
So he's got total control.
Correct.
The government has nothing to do with that.
Nope. The assessor puts out the value, the county and the municipalities.
I
do
mean,
the
there's
numbers
drastic differences. And then they can just throw a dart at a number, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a dart at a number, but
Well,
I know Mr. Waymer and I have talked about it in the past of you have a lot, the amount of assessors over time have gone down, so you have a lot less assessors doing more work, and you sometimes will have those issues. And it'll be interesting to see what the world brings in that realm over the coming years as that changes.
So if an assessor wants to just assess you residential on non-residential property, they can do that. They wish.
There's still processes. I mean, they could put that residential assessment on there, but you should receive a statement. There should be an open book. There should be a process for you to rebut that.
You have the Board of Review Appeals, right? Most communities have that in
Yes,
place.
yes.
That's the ultimate check and balance of the way the system is set up today.
Correct.
So that,
And it's the taxpayers, what you would say, the taxpayers' burden on whatever the assessor and that group of people put that burden on you.
that's how the system is designed today. In the past, there's been conversation about countywide assessments and things like that, but that has not moved at the state level.
All right.
Any other questions? Mr. Morris.
Our, on the number of zoning permits issued chart you have, going back to 2019, on 101 new single family, we were at 100.
Yeah.
And through October, we're at 51 right now. What do you think it's going to be by the end of the year, your best guess?
Surprisingly, we usually get a rush at the end of the year, come the fall. It'll probably be similar to last year, mid-60s.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some new subdivisions in the works, so we're hoping that'll pick up. But yeah, when you look at the 2016, 2017, 2018, they're all at that 100, 110. And then shortly after, and it's not necessarily a factor of COVID, it's also a factor of supply and demand. The amount of available residential lots is decreasing, so we don't have as many subdivisions available, put it simply. So as Exonia starts to get their wastewater treatment plant up and running, and we start to get some other development throughout the area, some more subdivisions, we hope that number starts to come up.
Okay.
Help with the housing.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Matt. Takes us to item D, Medical Examiner Nicole Donovan.
Sorry, I'm not that tall. And remember, I'm not funny either. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicole Donovan. I have not been here 7 months. I feel like it's been 20 years, but it'll be 10 this December. I feel like the time has gone really fast, probably because we're always busy. And I do like cows. I do. I like cows. I get very excited about seeing the cows. So we have moved in such a forward direction since I've been here the last decade, and I started at 30 hours a week. I moved up to full-time. We got a part-time position, 3/4 time position, and we've really been doing well lately. My right-hand person in the office, Ashley, has been a godsend with everything that she's helped me with. So she is that other almost full-time person in the office. And then we have the per diems that are on at nighttime. We've been training a lot of people this year. So right now I am training 4 people at one time. And it's not because I lost 4 people at once. It's that I've got some people out on medical leave and just transitioning. So I just put it out there, hired them all at once, and I figured they'd stagger themselves with their training, but it didn't really work that way. So Ashley and I and one of my longstanding investigators, we're all training the new investigators, and we are getting up to par with all of them. I think everything's going good. So that's where we are now. As you know, we contract our autopsies with the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office, and that's because, well, the price was always right. We have a longevity in that office. I trust them. The communication is excellent. I know they're not necessarily the closest, but they're not the furthest. So, but they're also, like I said, everything just kind of was right at the time. It's still right, but they are building a new state-of-the-art medical examiner office that'll be in with the state lab and emergency management, and then that'll be over in Wauwatosa by Freighter at the medical college. That is, the last I heard, supposed to be up and running in spring of 2026. Not sure what that means for budget yet. We haven't met on that, but I'm presuming we're going to be doing that in 2025. So for now, everything is status quo. And that's all I could really ask for right now, that we just kind of keep everything going the way that it's been going. You can see on page 2, our office responsibilities. I don't need to go over those. On page 3, I always highlight what we've done for the year. Now my annual report is for 2023. It's always going to be a little behind. I really prefer to be here more in the beginning or middle of the year, but my reports don't come in that fast from the end of the previous year. So that's why I'm here so late. But I've got the highlights of 2023 in here, things that remain the same. Resuming our child death review team. That was very important to me. It's very close to me. I chair that team. I co-lead the Zero Suicide team, which has been renamed Heroes for Hope, and HOPE is an acronym for Hold On Pain Ends. And so our suicide prevention team participates in local community events like Lights and Sirens in Watertown and other things like National Night Out, and you'll see us at random places. We like to have little pop-up events. We are trying to plan some skating events where we could do a fundraiser. We're working on a run for next year. We got a lot of things in the works for that. Our overdose fatality review team is also up and running still on their grants, so I participate in that. Some things that we have started doing recently in late 22, 23 was we're scanning all my files in. I've got I have 1950 something, all on paper, through 2014 when I came here. And so getting all those in may sound like it could just, what do you do? Just scan them. No, it's not just scanning. We have to look at the records. Some of them are paper thin, and we like to separate them out. Plus, we had some snafus with our copy machines. So now that we've got a new copy machine up and running, everything's been smooth, but we've been very busy. So getting through that, we do have kind of a goal end date for that of early 2025, only because I had Ashley working on some other things too, not just that, and we were swamped during the day the last year and a half. So one big thing that we did implement in 2023, thank you very much to MIS, is the database that I was using was pretty much a copy of what Waukesha County and Dodge County were using. I think at one point Walworth and Washington were also using through Microsoft Access. I didn't have a problem with it. I enjoy the querying. I enjoy how it is, but it's just archaic. So MIS, they had created this new database that pretty much mimicked it. It just was a mirror of that database. And they're amazing. So I really appreciate their help on that. It's been going really well. It's more internet-based, so we can get in from home a lot easier rather than, and we just type in our password and our token and we're good to go. So it's secure, but easier. Goals for 2024, continue to do what we're doing. But in addition to that, I wanted Ashley to start preparing for her American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators diplomat test. So that's the first certification that you can get. If you know anything about medical examiners, there's really not any standard testing or anything. Now, pathology, yes, but just general medical examiner and coroner, we don't have anything that tells us exactly what to do and why to do it. There's no laws for it. So we are just governed by, well, you have to make sure you investigate these deaths, but it doesn't tell you how. So if you go through the grueling 350 question test through the ABMDI, I feel it holds you to a higher standard because you've got to pass that test. You've got to know, you have, what you have to do is you have to sign off on a bunch of things saying that you're competent in those, and then you can go ahead and sit for the test. You don't always pass it the first time, or you can pass certain areas and then have to retake them, but it is a standard for me. And not everybody in my office has it. That's okay, because I can't pay for all of that. But Larry, being one of my long-standing individuals in my office, he was very interested in it, and he has his. And then I said, well, if you're going to be my right-hand person, Ashley, I think you should. So we've been working towards that, and she should be taking that exam by the end of this year. So that was a goal for us. And then in addition to that, I have that ABMDI, the diplomat status, but there is a fellow status that makes no difference to particularly needing it for this position, but I want it. So what it entails is making sure that I am well-versed in really weird types of deaths that Jefferson County doesn't really get. But you study for them, you attend different types of exercises, and sometimes you just might get one of those odd deaths. And learning all of that, studying all of that, this test you have to take is a 4-hour, I think, written test. You have to write narratives, and it's not just multiple choice. So that was my personal goal, regardless of what Ashley was doing, and so I started applying for that, and I will be taking that exam in early 2025. I was trying to give us a little bit of a gap between, because she's studying from one of the same books I am. So everything, like I said, everything's going great. We've got these goals, continue doing what we're doing, and yeah, moving forward. So I have statistical data starting on page 4. You'll see that my caseload is down. So it says we had 614 cases as opposed to 701. You know, really between 2020 and 2023, they're gonna fluctuate because some we had COVIDs called in, and some we had more overdoses than others, or traffic fatalities, or natural deaths, or cremations. That's the biggest thing, is our cremations. It's the new thing. It's easier and it is cheaper. So matter of fact, one struggle we're having is, since everybody is a cremation looking for the best price, our local funeral homes charge their price for cremation, but then there's these cremation societies that charge at least half that or less. And so they're leaving the county to go other places. We obviously don't endorse that. We never recommend any funeral homes, but that's one of the challenges we're having. But it just goes to say that it's very popular. So we are going to continue to see that increase in cremations and cremation permitting, which is my main source of income. The death certificate signing, it kind of ebbs and flows. It depends on how many cases we have that are unnatural, how many people don't have doctors. How many doctors refuse to sign the death certificates. So I don't look at that as more of a moneymaker. It's $25 a death certificate. So 120 to 150 death certificates per year, depending on how we're going. But I did already see 2024 is already significantly higher than 2023. We are slated to do probably between 650 and 675 cases. So kind of getting back on the high 600s number of cases. But as I said, we're looking at more cremations and just more cases reported. I mean, 22% of our cases are scene calls, so we're responding to a residence to do our investigation, photos, and pronouncement and such. And that follows with additional work too, contacting doctors, talking to families, and it's time consuming. So, and then 30% of our cases are cremation onlys. Well, I mean, that's just the onlys. We probably do about more like 40, 50. We do 500 permits per year, and we have 614 cases. So some of those people that are cremations are our scenes, other ones aren't. So the 135 that we did last year that are scene calls, the majority of them were cremation calls. So that's kind of taken care of all in one. But then there's other times where the other 350, we're going out to funeral homes on a daily basis, sometimes in the middle of the night, depending on if they're leaving the county, and we are doing those cremation body examinations per the state statute. So that's the one thing they do tell us we have to do. The manners of death you'll see on page 4 there is interesting. We had 516 natural deaths. Accidents kind of staying around the same, anywhere between 60 and 70-ish. It's about 10% of our cases. But what's a really, really sad statistic is that the number of suicides in 2023 was 23, and that's a little over, that's more than 3.5% of our deaths. That's why our suicide prevention team is really committed to getting out there in the community, showcasing our resources, and our meetings are the second Tuesday of the month at 8:30 in the morning. And we discuss, it's an hour meeting, we discuss whatever we can do to get out there in the community. Should we put pull tabs in the bars? Should we put some flyers in the quick trip bathrooms? Any little thing that can help, not just the resource fairs and attending the community events, but those little things count too, popping coasters in the 988 coasters in the bars. So we look at different ways that we can do those things to try to bring that number down. That number is down this year, but not to our liking. Traffic fatalities, I don't know what's going on. I couldn't tell you. People need to stop driving. We had 12 last year. We're at 11 already this year. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but we do try to. I know there was a particular area I believe I talked with Elizabeth because I think she was on or going to a board meeting for the roads, and she had mentioned that when I told her that this particular road was unsafe, in my opinion, based on some of the accidents I saw there, and including fatalities, some not. We try to bring that to people's attention so that we can, change the road, change the signage, or look at the speed limit to that. I'm specifically referring to Highway 18, over by Highway A and Hope Lake Road. And that is just a hot spot. And it's a turn, and we've had several fatalities there. So those are just other things that my office might be small, but we're kind of mighty. We try to push these ideas out there to see if there's anybody that wants to pick up on them, to try to, again, prevention, awareness of what's going on. I know last year when I was doing my annual report, you wanted some more drug statistics, a little more broken down, so that's what I did. If you don't like the graph, blame Ashley. I'm really bad with graphs, so she made that for me, and at least I can read it. So I can tell you that fentanyl is always the most prevalent drug we're finding. That's not changing. Sure, did we have less of them than 2022? Yes, but we also had 6 less cases. Cocaine, people are starting to like cocaine a little more, so I'm mixing those two together, and so we've had an increase in that. From last year, it's down, but if you look at the statistics, we had 16 drug deaths in 2023 and 22 the year before. So with 7 cocaine, 8 being fentanyl, I mean, these are just what these numbers here tell you is in 2023, we had 5 of our drug-related cases include benzodiazepines, so lorazepam, anti-anxiety medications, and they could be combined with the fentanyl and whatnot. So those aren't supposed to add up together. That's what we found in our 16 cases. The fentanyl and their analogs, I mean, we're going from regular fentanyl to all of the crazy fentanyls that are multiple times stronger. Methamphetamine's going down though. 2022, we had 10 included with those, but last year it was only 3. So maybe that'll start to phase out. Cocaine though, that, like I said, that's staying. Heroin, is almost non-existent anymore because of the fentanyl issue that we're having. And then other opiates includes anything that's not listed here. So it doesn't include fentanyl. It includes oxycodone, hydrocodone, any of those prescription medications. And then just other drugs of interest. I thought I'd throw these in there. I know we don't have a lot of any of these, but they're just interesting because we're seeing them here and there. So over the last 5 years, of course, I usually do a 5-year statistic here. So xylazine is not an opiate. It's a non-opioid sedative. It's a veterinary tranquilizer, but it's typically found with opiates. So somebody's cutting it in there with those. So that's found in a couple here and there. We didn't have any last year for the Phenibut or Phenibut, depending on who you are, how you pronounce it. But that is a not FDA approved, but legal central nervous system depressant. So it treats anxiety. So we've had a couple of those deaths, one in each year, which I found interesting, so that's why I include it. Mitragynine is kratom. So if you've heard of kratom, what it is it's kind of like fake weed. It's a plant base, but it's psychoactive. It's illegal here in Wisconsin. I did have a couple of cases in 2021 that did have that as part of the cause of death. Couldn't rule it out, but it wasn't in there by itself. But it's illegal here, but it's legal in Illinois. So it's close. LSD, just thought that was interesting. We had one of those. That was just odd. We didn't even know. Somebody told us that he probably did LSD, so we had to send out that test because Milwaukee doesn't test for LSD. And when we did, it sure enough came back. Methadone, you can see that's kind of phased out too. Sometimes we will randomly get methadone included with some of our stuff, but usually it's abused, not something that they are using for getting off of opiates. It's usually that they are just specifically abusing it. Medetomidine was just something, it's not listed on here, but I wanted to throw it out there. It's a veterinary anesthetic. It was found in Illinois this year in some drug overdoses, and it's just something to keep our eyeballs on. So it's really hard to keep up with the trends with what drugs these kids are doing these days. I think I'm old enough to say kids now. We're just really trying to keep up. We get the tox reports back from Milwaukee, and I'm like, what the heck is that? You know, and then we go research it, talk to the pathologist, talk to the toxicologist, and now we're like, okay, well, this is something to look out for. So Illinois is killing us because they've got the legal mitragynine down there, some xylazine's coming up from there, the medetomidines coming from there. So just something to look out for. Last page, not too much going on here. Because of the increase in the unnatural deaths that you saw, and those who are younger with no known real causes, or those without medical care, we've had an increase in the pathological examinations. And the reason I worded it like that, in case you weren't here last year, the reason why is because we started, like I said, we've always sent our autopsies to Milwaukee County, but they are based on caseload, picking and choosing who they are going to do a full autopsy for, and those who are they're going to do an external examination with a detailed external examination. So, such as an example, there may be a trajectory done from the external point of view. If they're not trying to find a projectile in an individual, and it's just a through and through, they're trying to trim their autopsy times and stuff down to, let's say, what's necessary. Well, we know that this happened. Let's do the trajectory. Let's do the external examination, make sure that's what we've got. And that's how they sign it out to me, and they provide their reports. But should they be fishing around for a projectile, then they have to kind of go in. And they don't just do half. They do the full postmortem. So again, kind of going on what Milwaukee County does for their protocols. We keep in good contact with them. If they've changed something, I debate on it, and I talk with Ashley, hey, I think maybe we should change it too, because if they're doing it and they're name accredited, which is the National Association of Medical Examiners, which is a pretty prestigious accreditation, it's very strict, there's no reason why our office shouldn't be able to accommodate them, because I know Dr. Peterson several years ago when he was leading their team said, listen, this is how we're doing ours. We'd really appreciate if you'd consider doing your cases similarly so that we can save time And we can even save you money on it because they are half price doing the external exams. So we kind of work that out and we play everything by ear. So does that mean we know what we're doing on every single case? Not necessarily. We will take everyone case by case, but we do know which ones are definitely going to pathologists, and that is the biggest concern. So I'm not a big source of income. You can see that on here. I'm minor. But I do try to keep a really good handle on my budget. You know, I needed to get some extra supplies this year, and I knew I didn't have a lot used, for example, in the registration for trainings. So I had kind of switched that over to getting some more supplies that I had needed. And it was cameras. Cameras are very expensive. So I really needed that for my new staff. Two of my cameras for myself broke. I swear it was not user error. And so, you know, I do try to be budget conscious. I think I'm usually pretty good. I'm usually not too far over or under, and I keep a good eye on it. So I appreciate the faith that you guys have had in me for almost a decade, and I always answer questions if you have any. Our office can be quite interesting, so if you have any questions that you want to talk about, feel free to come visit me. Hopefully I'll be there. And that's all I've got. Sorry I took so much time this time.
Questions for Nikki?
Yeah, Nick,
Mr. Gross.
Yeah, one simple question, if it's not too difficult, just because what actuaries are seeing in, life insurance companies, just if you could, put it, in a different type of font size, just age groups.
What was that now?
The age of the people in the different by age. By the decade, if you want.
Oh, for the report to put them in, or are you asking a specific question?
For the report.
For the report,
I can definitely do that. I love when you guys give me examples of things that you want. So if you want to know an age breakdown, I can definitely do that.
You can put it within that same.
Sure.
And then if you want to do M or F or question mark also.
Yep, and I don't usually keep those statistics only because I keep them for specific things. So I keep them for our suicides because those statistics I give to human services for them to be able to use that for prevention. So I provide them with the location of residence, location of death, the means that happened, any background information I think is pertinent to the case, and then like a male, female, and age on them. So I can certainly put in some of that information in here just to kind of showcase what kind of residents we have that are passing through. I can tell you the majority of the accidental ones are the overdoses and hip fractures, and then we've got the traffic fatalities, and they're kind of all over the place with their ages, but we do get a lot of hospice calls with falls. So there's a lot of elderly individuals that are reported to our office, and that is the majority. So just to answer your question now before I have statistics next year. So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Nicole.
All right, thank you.
Takes us to committee reports, resolutions, and ordinances. Executive Committee, resolution appointing interim county administrator effective December 25th, 2024. Mr. Winnicky.
Resolution number 2024-59.
Correct.
The county administrator announced his resignation effective December 15th. The county board has established a county administrator search committee and retained an executive search firm to recruit and fill this role with a qualified successor. It's anticipated the recruitment and selection process will take some time, and as such, it is necessary to appoint an interim county administrator to ensure the continuity of operations during the recruitment process. This resolution approves the appointment of Michael Lucky, the current assistant to the county administrator, as the interim county administrator effective December 15th, 2024, and continuing until such time as a successor is appointed. The executive committee considered this resolution at its meeting on October 30th and recommended forwarding it to the county board for approval. The current assistant to the county administrator, Michael Lucky, has a comprehensive understanding of the county's current strategic initiatives and priorities and is willing and qualified to handle the additional responsibilities of this interim appointment. The interim county administrator shall receive compensation commensurate with the duties and responsibilities of the position in accordance with Jefferson County Personnel Ordinance HR 0325. fiscal note. This has no fiscal impact, and it adheres to the strategic plan. Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Moved by Mr. Winnicky, second by Mr. Paulson. Questions? Discussion? All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? It's approved. Welcome, Michael, to the next step. Okay. Takes us to Finance Committee. Item A, resolution amend recommended 2025 county budget with possible addenda. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the non-countywide levy budget, the countywide levy budget, and the functional totals as stated in the 2024 recommended budget be adopted. I will need a second, and at this time, we will not be voting on the budget, but it opens it up for discussion.
Second for Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Mr. Gross, you had a question.
Yes. You know, the breakdown on as far as, let's call it revenue, from these energy generating facilities throughout the county, what amount of revenue, where is that in? Is there a separate, I see there's not a separate line.
Yeah, so if you go to the general revenue section of the budget book, it's right where the sales tax is. It falls under utility tax. I think we're showing roughly, I'll work on my eyes here a little bit. So it's on page 127. If you go down about halfway down, it's utility tax. Shared revenue is what it's titled. We're estimating for this upcoming year to be about 1.416, which is up from about $937,000. It's give or take a little bit related to that because we're still waiting for the finalization of the liquid natural gas facility. So this is not full including that being online, but this is based on the records that we got from the state. So this would include what's mainly in the Concord station on County Highway E that's been existing for some time. This is the smaller solar farm out in the town of Jefferson area right now that Alliant bought out, and then a portion of the liquid natural gas. Those are the main ones.
And then the one on Whitewater also?
That is not included yet because that is just beginning. Well, you got a portion of the power generation of that steam plant that We Energy.
That's correct.
That's a portion of that. So it's a full formula, but it's not included the solar farm that's coming, has been filed down in Whitewater.
All right. So then, because, you know, all those entities are not paying any real estate tax, they're valued at zero.
Correct. At the moment they are become a power generation power system by state law, they are no longer tax exempt and they are charged a state shared revenue tax that is given to the state of Wisconsin, to the town, village, city that they might be in, and the county. Right now, the split is roughly for the local utility tax is 2/3, 1/3 is placed in the town. And if it's placed in the city or village, it's 2/3, 1/3 the other way. It is based on a formula, which includes the amount of power generation created. Some of the parts also looks at the depreciation value of the asset as a whole, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff that goes into that analysis going forward. So Mark can probably give you a thesis statement as we try to figure it all out.
Right, because, okay, so you may not be getting a revenue comparable to what it was if it was actually assessed at a value.
I think it depends on which piece of property you're talking about, and I would say that could be a fair statement on certain parts of that in general. But it also goes back to how DOR in general assesses industrial property in the state of Wisconsin. We've kind of talked through that before, some of these other projects going on. So you might say it's worth X millions of dollars, but typically there's a whole formula they use for assessment purposes that might be different used on your single family home.
Right, so the value is way lower than what it actually is.
Not necessarily true. A lot of it goes to the depreciation calendar and a whole bunch of other stuff that goes in that formula. So, it'd be site specific.
Okay.
Other questions? Discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Jones?
I'm pleased to announce that we had no amendments turned in at this time, but Mr. Chair, would you please ask if there's any amendments from the floor.
Any amendments from the floor? Any amendments from the floor? Third time, any amendments from the floor? Seeing none, Mr. Jones.
I move to divide the question on the countywide and non-countywide levy budgets. A second is required, and this will take a roll call vote.
Second for Mr. Jekyll. Questions, discussion? Otherwise, a roll call vote for dividing the question. Majority, but it needs to be roll call. Yeah, it really does.
Supervisor Richardson,
Aye.
Supervisor Zarling,
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst,
Aye.
Supervisor Brockler,
Aye.
Supervisor Gulig. Supervisor Gulig,
He can't talk. Hold on.
Hey, yep, aye.
thank you. We have 27 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
The resolution to divide, or the amendment to, the action to divide the question was approved. Okay. Takes us to item B, resolution establishing non-countywide levies for health and library services. I believe that is the blue sheet.
Yes. There's a blue sheet on your desk that wasn't in your packet. Resolution establishing non-countywide levies for health and library service, resolution number 2024-60. Whereas the non-countywide budget for the 2025 containing total department appropriations and levies is apportioned to the municipalities benefiting from the services furnished, and now therefore be it resolved that the sums listed below be levied upon all property in Jefferson County as taxable for the purpose listed. Health Department, $983,750. Library Services, $1,296,117. Be it further resolved that the above amounts be apportioned to equalized values as established by the State Department of Revenue. Fiscal note, the Health Department mill rate is .0965 and the library mill rate is .2242 per $1,000 of equalized value. In 2023, the Health Department mill rate was .0992 and the library, I might have had one too many nines there, I'm not sure. And the library mill rate was .2192 for a decrease of .0027 in the health department mill rate and an increase of .0050 in the library mill rate. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Jekyll. Questions, discussion on this portion of the budget? Mr. Brogler.
Am I correct in seeing the only difference between the two was the missing data with the increase of the library?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, this again is a roll call vote, simple majority. This is establishing the non-countywide levies, library and health.
Supervisor Richardson,
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst,
Aye.
Supervisor Brockler,
Aye.
Supervisor Gulig, Supervisor Gulig,
Aye.
we have 27 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
The resolution passes. Item C, establishing countywide levy and fees. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2024-61. Whereas the proposed 2025 county budget was submitted to the board by the county administrator on October 8, 2024, and whereas the proposed 2025 county budget was the subject of a public hearing on October 22nd, 2024, and whereas the board has considered all amendments, now therefore be resolved that the authorized positions, the total appropriation for each governmental function is shown below, fund balance application and assignments in the recommended budget book, and the levy contained in the countywide portion of the 2025 budget be levied as a county tax to be raised on the 2024 tax roll as follows, and that is listed below. Be it further resolved that the above amount be apportioned according to equalized value established by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. Be it further resolved that the fee schedule for various license, permits, and services used to establish revenues amounts in the budget are hereby approved. Fiscal note. As presented, the countywide levy is proposed at $32,696,383, which is a mill rate of $2.4688 for general operations and .3361 for debt service fund, for a total of $2.8049 per $1,000 of taxable value. In 2024, the countywide levy was $33,285,195, with a general operations mill rate of $2.6453 and the debt service mill rate of .4169, for a decrease of .1765 per $1,000 of taxable value for the 2025 general operations, and a decrease of .0808 per $1,000 per taxable value of 2025 debt service. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion on the general budget? So, simple vote on your tablet. We need a simple majority.
Supervisor Richardson?
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst?
Aye.
Supervisor Brockler?
Aye.
Supervisor Gulig?
Aye.
We have 27 yes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Mr. Chair, could I interrupt here for a second, please?
Certainly, Mr. Jones.
I was going to read this before I read this last resolution, and I apologize, but I'd like to read it at this time. I am pleased to present the 2025 budget for approval. We met the needs of our constituents as demand increases for services we provide. The budget allows for salary and COLA increases, which rewards our hardworking employees and helps with retention and hiring. The budget is based on Jefferson County's strategic and comprehensive plans. We accomplish all this while fixed costs continue to rise and will present concerns for future budgets. I would like to thank CFO Mark DeBrise and his staff, department heads for their cooperation, and my fellow Finance Committee members for all their hard work. A special thank you to you, Mr. Waymeyer, for your leadership and foresight this year and over the past 11. The budget has been transparent, allows all involved to say, respects the value of all programs and departments, and most important, respects the taxpayers of Jefferson County as the mill rate continues to go down. You will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Takes us to item D, resolution accepting a $1,900 in restricted donations for facilitating conversations with groups at risk for social isolation and amending the 2024 Health Department budget. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2024-62. The Jefferson County Health Department has awarded a total of $1,900 in restricted donations from the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation to facilitate conversation with groups at high risk for social isolation. The funding covers the cost of 10 people to participate in a focus group aimed at understanding how social connection impacts them. The finding of these focus groups will not only help the Jefferson County Health Department better understand ways to tailor their interventions to support these high-risk populations, but its findings will help other key stakeholders in the community do the same. Social connectiveness is the overall feeling of belonging to the community and the experience of having meaningful relationship with others. This is a core human need that is a significant impact on health and well-being. Since COVID-19, we have seen record high levels of social isolation that has dramatically impact mental health and wellness. This resolution authorizes the acceptance of $1,900 in restricted donations from the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation and amends the 2024 Health Department budget accordingly. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on November 5th, 2024, and recommended forwarded to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the resolution increases the budget for revenue and expense in the Health Department by $1,900. This is a budget amendment. County Board approval requires a 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the County Board, 20 votes of the 30-member County Board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Christensen. Questions, discussion? Mr. Morris?
It would be interesting to know what constitutes being in a high-risk population. I'm not asking for a definition right now, but if the health department perhaps could inform us in time, maybe in the next few days or something, this is what a high-risk population person would look like.
Yeah, and we'll get you examples. I know there's going to be a session on Thursday, and I think as example is for those might be in nursing homes and things like that.
Right.
Is an easy example, but there's
Right.
others out there too.
I can think of some others.
Yep.
Any other questions? Other questions? If not, this takes a 2/3 vote. Please use your tablets.
Supervisor Richardson?
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst?
Aye.
Supervisor Brockler?
Aye.
Supervisor Gulig?
Aye.
We have 28 yes, 0 no, 2 absent.
Resolution passes. Item E, resolution approving educational revenue bonds for Crown of Life Christian Academy Series 2024. Mr. Jones.
Resolution number 2024-63. Crown of Life Christian Academy Incorporated, Wisconsin nonprofit corporation, and organization described in Section 501, Sub C, Sub 3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, has requested the County Board of Supervisors of Jefferson County approve solely for the purpose set forth in this resolution the issue of bonds by the Public Finance Authority, a bond issuing commission created and existing under pursuant to the provisions of Section 66.0301, 66.0303, and 66.0304 of the Wisconsin statutes as amended. The borrower has applied for financing to the authority for the issuance of revenue bonds to finance a project on behalf of the borrower pursuant to the plan of finance. The authority intends to issue its education revenue bonds Series 2024 and one or more series of tax-exempt or taxable bonds in the amount not to exceed $8,200,000 to finance the borrower's project. One or more series of issuance of bonds are expected to be qualified 501c Sub C, Sub 3 bonds as defined in Section 145 of the Code for nonprofit school facilities, and proceeds of the bonds will be made available to the borrower and used by the borrower pursuant to a plan of financing refinancing existing loans of the borrower, the proceeds of which finance, among other things, the construction, improvement, equipping, and installation of certain education facilities located in approximately 11 buildable acres of land, including approximately 27,000 square foot, one-story elementary and middle school building for grades K-8, containing approximately 10 classrooms, administrative offices, conference rooms, a kitchen, boys and girls bathroom, cafeteria, lobby, storage, a full-size gymnasium, a parking lot, excavated green space, and commercialized landscaping, locating at 535 Bureau Drive, Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, 53538. B, financing or refinancing, including through reimbursement, acquisition, construction, improvement, renovation, and equipping of a new wing of existing facilities, which is presently expected to include, among other things, additional classroom, boys and girls locker room, additional administrative office, staff workroom, and expanded special education classrooms. And C, pay the cost of some or all of the following: capitalize interest on the bonds, funding of certain reserve funds, including deposits through a debt service reserve fund and repair replacement funds for the bonds, working capital, all or portion of the cost of issuance of the bonds. The bonds will be a special limited obligation of the authority payable solely for the loan repayments to be made by the borrower to the authority and certain funds and accounts established by the bond indentured for the bonds. This resolution approves the issuance of education revenue bonds by the Public Financing Authority to finance the Crown of Life Christian Academy project as outlined above. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on November 5, 2024, and recommended for it to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, no impact on Jefferson County. The bonds will be issued by the authority and will be special limited obligations of the authority payable solely from the loan repayments to be made by the borrower to the authority and certain funds and accounts established by the bond indentured for the bonds. Mr. Chairman, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Mr. Brogler.
When was the last time we had a loan like this?
I am not aware, at least in my time, let me rephrase that. In my time here, 11 plus years, I don't think the Public Finance Authority option has been utilized for entity within Jefferson County. So I think the best way to kind of think about this is kind of how we've done conduit debt in the past too. Kind of similar if you want to look for something close. So the Public Finance Authority is enabled by state statute, basically methodology as a nonprofit to qualify for basically lower interest rates. And then basically the county and the community they're located in have to do some requirements. That includes holding a public hearing, a resolution, and the city of Fort Atkinson also wrote a note related to this that is required by the state law.
Would this be similar to the PACE loaning we did through the old printing factory in Waterloo?
No, that's slightly different based on how that creates actually a lien mechanism on that. And we're a little more involved with that, how that work takes place, where this one, we're just a conduit for it, but we have no financial obligations for it.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. I think this is just a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. All right. Human Services Board, resolution authorizing state human service contracts, consortium agreements, and professional service and care provider contracts. Mr. Jones, you running out of gas yet?
Yeah, I think I'll make it. Resolution number 2024-64, the Jefferson County Human Service Department contracts with state agencies, consortiums, in excess of 200 professional service and care providers to fulfill its statutory duties. Each year, contracts are renewed and or updated with additional providers. State law requires county board approval of the state contracts set forth in this resolution. The contracts have not been reproduced and attached to this resolution because they would total more than 100 pages. The Wisconsin County Human Services Association negotiates the basic agreement on behalf of the counties, which are standard state forms and are not subject to negotiation by individual counties. The professional service and care provider contract list for 2025 is attached. These provider contracts are reviewed by the Jefferson County Corporation Council to ensure compliance with the county's purchasing ordinance and contain the language and terms set forth by the State of Wisconsin Department of Health Service Purchase of Care Service Guide in Section 46.036 of Wisconsin statutes. The Human Service Board considered this resolution at its October 8, 2024 meeting and recommended forwarding to the County Board to approve entering into professional service and care provider contracts with the providers on the attached list and entering the state contracts and consortium agreements as set forth below for 2024. Fiscal note, the costs associated with these state and consortium contracts have been included as an appropriation in the 2025 budget. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jones. I have a second. Second by Mr. Coots. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes by voice. Takes us to item 13, Planning and Zoning Committee report. Mr. Jaco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report to the honorable members, Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on September 21st, 2023 and October 17th, 2024, as required by law pursuant Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and being duly advised of the wishes of the town boards and persons in areas affected, hereby makes the following recommendations: approval of petitions as listed and denial of petition R 4561A-24, which you can see is written down there, dated this 28th day of October 2024, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. And that will take us over to ordinance number 2024-14, amending the official zoning map of Jefferson County, whereas Jefferson County Board of Supervisors heretofore been petitioned to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, whereas petitions as listed were referred to Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee for public hearing on September 21st, 2023 and October 17th, 2024. Whereas proposed amendments have been given due consideration by the Board of Supervisors in open session, now therefore be it ordained Jefferson County Board of Supervisors does amend the official county zoning map as follows. Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of this ordinance.
Move by Mr. Jekyll, second Mr. Paulson. Questions, discussion? Mr. Kennard.
I will abstain for a potential conflict of interest.
Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. The ordinance passes. Takes us to item C, resolution denying petition to amend official zoning map. Mr. Jekyll.
Resolution number 2024
65.
Denying a petition to amend zoning map. Whereas Jefferson County Board of Supervisors heretofore been a petition to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County to rezone from A1 exclusive agricultural to create a 13.95 acre A3 zone near W1731 Gopher Hill Road in the town of Ixonia. And whereas petition number R4561A24 was referred to Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, and public hearing was held on October 17, 2024. Whereas proposed amendment has been given due consideration by the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee after public hearing as required by law. The committee, after being duly advised of the wishes of the town board and persons in the area affected, made a recommendation to deny petition R4561A24. And whereas the committee finds there are no further splits for residential lots A3 rezones available for this parcel, the parent parcel is less than 50 acres, which would allow for 3 non-prime lots or 1 prime lot pursuant to Jefferson County zoning ordinance. Previous rezones occurred which utilized all of the available residential splits for his property, which was acknowledged by the owner in 2019 with the recording of a notice of zoning limitation affidavit, which froze the remaining A1 zone parcel. And whereas committee further finds that the proposed 13.95 acre rezone is not consistent with the county comprehensive plan, farmland preservation plan, or zoning ordinance because of the size of the lot is over the allowed size for an A3 lots, and the parcel has utilized all of the available splits. Now therefore be it resolved, Jefferson County Board of Supervisors, that petition R4561A-24 submitted by Jonathan Schrock to rezone 13.95 acres of pin number as listed near W1731 Gopher Hill Road in the town of Ixonia from A1 to A3 is hereby denied for the reasons stated, and particularly in the Planning and Zoning Committee report to the county board and the official record of the petition. Fiscal note: the passage of this resolution has no determinable fiscal impact. I move for adoption of this resolution.
Second by Mr. Paulson, moved by Mr. Jekyll. Questions? Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the petition or the resolution passes. Takes us to item 16, appointment by the county administrator, Jefferson County Library Board appointment.
And this appointment was handed out tonight in the packet. By virtue of the authority vested in me in section 59.18, parent 2, parent C of the Wisconsin statute, I respectfully request confirmation of the following appointment. Mr. Dwayne Scott of Hebron, Wisconsin, to the Jefferson County Library Board to fill an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2024, and a subsequent new 3-year term ending December 31st, 2027. I respectfully request confirmation of this appointment.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Brogler, second. Second by Mr. Morris. Questions? Discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the appointment is made. Takes us to public comment of a general nature. Is there any public comment of a general nature? Things that were not on the agenda tonight. Seeing none. Announcements. Mr. Waymire.
I have one quick one. I already got a response back from the health department, Dr. Morris. The grant is going to actually specifically focus on loneliness and brand new parents is the goal of this initial session. So,
And I have one announcement. I just want to bring your attention to this month's WCA magazine. We're well represented by Jefferson County folks on board. Here's a picture of Mr. Brogler on a panel. And on the other page, a picture of Amanda Truex and our lovely Register of Deeds, Stacy Huffman. A nice picture there. So it's great to see us bringing our education to the rest of the state. I thank you folks for your participation at WCA. With that, any other announcements from the floor here? Then we will entertain a motion to go into closed session. And that will then be a roll call vote.
So move.
So moved by Mr. Backlund.
Second.
Second, Mr. Jaco. I should read this. It's a convened in closed session pursuant to section 19.85 Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the purpose of discussion regarding the potential sale of county-owned land. That is what's on the agenda. So we have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Supervisor Richardson?
Aye.
Supervisor Herbst?
aye.
Supervisor Brockler?
Aye.
Supervisor Gulig?
Aye.
28 yes, 0 no, 2 absent.